Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about Saturn. So Saturn has just entered Aries as of the 24th of May. She will be hanging out in there until the 1st of September. This is the first time this has happened in around 29 years. So we will talk about what Saturn in Aries means. We will go over what is a Saturn return, why is it important, why does everybody talk about it, what does it mean for you. And if you are one of our lucky Saturn and Aries babies, we will discuss your Saturn return in detail as well towards the end. So there will be timestamps in the description of this video, and also I'll try and include some chapters if I can work out how to do it. So if you just want to see what it is for your Saturn return, if you are a Saturn and Aries baby, usually born between 1996 to 1999 or 1967 to 1969. If you just go and have a little look at what your birth chart says. If you want to go straight there, you can do, but we're going to talk about Saturn and Aries in general. So what does Saturn and Aries mean for all of us? Well, Saturn and Aries aren't the best combination, but they are probably one of the most fruitful towards the end, because you learn great lessons with the both of them trying to work together. Saturn is more of the slow guy. Saturn is the one who puts in the work. Saturn is the one who takes its time. Saturn is the one that perfects. Saturn is the one who gives up all the pleasures of life in a way to have success. It's a great planet if you want to put in boundaries. It's an excellent planet if you want to live by rules. It's an excellent planet if you want to get somewhere eventually and plan for the long term. Not the best planet with Aries. Aries is very much the child. Aries wanted everything yesterday. Aries wanted everything yesterday. So Aries and Saturn, the mix of it can be quite rough. It is a bit of a phoenix from the ashes rising up type of era for all of us. But it will teach us a lot about things taking time and a lot about patience. It will also teach us a lot about how to manage burnout or how to stop driving for like the instant validation of certain things that we have in this modern world, right? Like today I could order something on my phone and it would be here tomorrow, but Saturn is sort of saying, is it the best quality, the thing that you're ordering on your phone to be here tomorrow? Or do we want to source our, ingredients? Do we want to source our materials so that it's more sustainable, stay around forever, and is very, very good in the long term? That's kind of the energy. And I think for us all who are living in this modern technological type society where everything is a fast food chain, that can be really, really rough. Now, in my personal opinion, just take this as an opinion, Saturn and Aries kind of have the same goal. They just go about it a very, very different way. Aries wants to achieve. Aries wants to get stuff done. Aries really, really wants to make something of itself. It wants to achieve and be in a place of like being proud of achievements. And Saturn does want that as well. But Saturn is more a 10-year plan kind of guy rather than the Aries, tomorrow I will kind of guy. So that's something that we need to watch out for during this time period. Burnout is going to be especially rampant. All right, I'm going to put it out there. We need to learn to take care of ourselves. We need to learn to pace ourselves. We need to learn how to manage those difficult emotions when frustration comes up or anger comes up or things that are out of our control that seem to show up and things don't get done as quickly as we can. Obviously, this transit is a long one, right? Saturn's transits tend to be a long time. They tend to be around 3 years in total, give or take, when we do retrogrades backwards into other signs. Like we will have one from the 1st of September till February. I'm not sure of the exact date. I will try and remember that later on in this video. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So there will be a period of time where we move back into Pisces, which is very different energy to Aries. But these transits are long. Now, I want you to think about the fact that although these transits are long, you won't feel this for the entirety of the transit, right? If we talk about Saturn in Pisces, you won't have felt that whole transit since 2022. 2023, sorry, not 2022, 2023. You won't have felt that whole thing. So don't be afraid of what people are saying about Saturn in Aries. You won't feel the whole thing. If you are going through your Saturn return, that is another story, all right? But we will talk about that in just a second. But it's important for you to note that this can, by the end of this transit, it can teach you a hell of a lot about working hard. It can teach you a hell of a lot about achievements. It can teach you a hell of a lot about the importance of, you know, that age-old thing of like blood, sweat, and tears. You know, it will teach you that maybe the journey is more important than the outcome, and you won't be in 3 years in the same place that you are right now. No matter how much you resist, no matter how much you fight it, the determination will get to you, and you are going to move and you are going to change. So why is this such a big deal? Well, so we just had Saturn in Pisces. All right, Saturn in Pisces taught us a lot about the rise of spirituality. It taught us a lot about etherealism. It taught us a lot about working on our own deep emotions and the way that we see the world from a bigger perspective. It taught us a lot about how boundaries need to be eroded in order to be built back up again into a world that we really like. But it also taught us about, as always, there's a good and a bad and a difficult and an easy, right? So it also taught us a lot about the rise of AI and how we work our ethics around that sort of thing, or this idea of being overwhelmed by our emotions and sitting all day and doom scrolling because the world is such a difficult place to be in. We don't really know how to process it. So Saturn in Pisces was quite a tough transit, although it wasn't, say, in its fall or whatever. It was a tough transit. Now, this shift into Aries, as always, when there's a big shift in planets, there's always an important point to note, right? Because this is the furthest planet away that we can see with our naked eye as human beings in the sky. And with that, it makes it more personal than, say, the big shifts in Pluto that we've had recently and Neptune, although given that, that's a whole nother story, but it is also extremely important in society. So having a shift with a planet of such a long transit and such a personal transit for such a long time, you will feel this big societal change. Now, with Saturn in Aries, there is an element of snapping us out of that era of doom scrolling, that era of being overwhelmed by life, the era of being so caught up in the spiritual and the avoidance and the escapism that we then can't do anything. Now Aries is more like, okay, like I've learned lessons from that stuff and I'm just gonna get on with it. It creates frustration because we all want to get on with it. And Saturn's like, but you know, you have to think about this. If we want to create a world that is more sustainable, better, brighter, has more of a future, you have to think about where you want to go with it. Like, we can't just be like, yes, I'm going to fix this and everything's going to be done. No, it doesn't work like that. And Saturn knows that. But the difference is we will have almost like a renewed motivation to get stuff done in everything we've learned from Saturn being in Pisces. If we can harness that level of frustration and we can use it in a good way, or we can process that in a good way, and we can sort of step back, and every time we get frustrated we can think, okay, how can I solve this? Or this takes time, like I can't do it right now, but I will. I'm going to sit on that and I'm going to think of a solution. If we can go about it like that, the changes that will be happening towards the end of this transit will be spectacular. But if we can't do that, that's where the problems arise. Saturn is always going to be teaching us a lesson, is always going to be teaching us things about where to go next. Planet of karma, some people say, you know, there is a need for Saturn. It is the eternal teacher. It is the wise one, the one who has learned all the lessons and is still going. You know, it hasn't given up yet. Things take time. So That's kind of the things that we're going to be learning from Saturn. And it's big, especially if you're someone who's going through a Saturn return. And generally, Saturn can impact a lot of points in your chart if you're not in a Saturn return. So say Saturn's in your first house. It will impact the way that you see yourself. It will impact the way that you feel about your abilities. Or a Saturn might be squaring your natal placement. And there is a frustration there. There is a pullback there. There is a just a feeling of restriction that might come up in your day-to-day life. And you're like, but I felt so free about this last year. Why am I feeling like this? And it's just there to give you a bit of growth. It's there to teach you a lesson. It feels a bit difficult, all right, in the moment. I'll say that. I'm going to be honest, okay? I don't think anybody is out there like, my Saturn return or my Saturn difficult aspect was so simple. No, I'm not saying that all of them were horrendous or traumatic, but there was something in it that was like, you need to change something or this is not going to work. And if you don't change, Saturn will change it for you. And in my opinion, every time there's been a very difficult Saturn transit, I've always come out the other side better. You know, like even if in the moment it's like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know how to do this. This is not my thing at all. Even if I'm like that, in the end, I am a much better person than I was before. And I am much more successful and I have much more resilience than I had before. Not a lot of us like gaining resilience, but I tell you now, a lot of us will enjoy it once we have resilience. That's all I can say, because we may not like the process of getting there, but there is something about it that makes us such well-rounded human beings, and it will increase our quality of life in the long term. So we can talk about the kind of comeback nature of this Saturn and Aries story. If you are somebody who over the past couple of years has felt like you've just been sitting in boiling water, or you've been sort of wallowing in the difficulties and you've been hit by setback after setback after setback and things just haven't really been going your way. Even though this is quite a difficult combination between Saturn and Aries, even though there is very opposing energies of how we sort of get to where we want to be, Aries does have this thing where it is able to begin again. Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. We've just done Saturn in the end of the zodiac, and now Aries is the beginning. And with Saturn in Aries, there is almost a feeling of, okay, you've knocked me down, but I am about to get back up again. I'm going to get back up again, whether I like it or not, whether I don't want to wake up in the morning, I'm still going to do it because I have things to do. So even with this awkward state that they are both in, there is a bit of a thrill to this. There is a bit of a like, thank God that point is over where I felt like I was wallowing, and that point is over where I felt like I had hit rock bottom and I was just completely destroyed. There's a like, I'm getting back up now. And some of you might experience several rock bottoms. Like, we're going to be honest here, okay? Like, I'm not going to lie to you. There is no point in me lying to you. Some of you during this period of time might experience some rock bottoms. Anybody who's had a difficult Saturn transit before, you know what a rock bottom is. But every time you hit that rock bottom, first of all, you learn something. Second of all, you gain the ability to say, I did the thing, later on down the line. And you also gain this sort of, this feeling of pride in yourself. And this idea that like, I am the comeback queen. Like, I am getting back up, I am doing my thing, and I am carrying on with all the strength that I have in the world. It doesn't matter how many times you hit that rock bottom. Each time you will learn something new. You will never have failed. So this Saturn transit is going to really teach you, like, I really need to let go of that fear of failure. If you hang on to that fear of failure, this is going to be really rough. It's going to be rough. Because when you hang on to the idea that you have failed and you don't want to get back up again, Saturn is always, always, always going to pull you back out of that. So it's better to go in with the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to make mistakes. Hey, things are going to go wrong. Hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then move forward with that and be like, you know, it's okay to do that. It's okay to not know. It's okay to worry about it. It's okay to be like, I literally, if I'm going to fall on my face, I'm going to be very stressed, but hey ho, it is what it is. If you don't go in with the idea of like, you know, whatever, if I fail, I fail, this is going to feel icky because you're going to fall over and you're going to hit a wall and someone's going to have to drag you and pick you up by your shirt and be like, get on with it. And that can feel hard. That can feel uncomfortable. Saturn is also the father, right? So it's the difference between the father that goes, it's okay, let's get back up again, let's carry on. And the father that picks you up by the scruff of your neck and is like, you will carry on. And if not, there will be a punishment. That is the way we have to go about it. Let Saturn be the good dad. Let Saturn be the gentle parent. He probably won't most likely be the gentle parent, but let him be that for you. Like, go in with that notion. And if we think back to when Saturn was last in Aries, imagine, so if you are in your Saturn return, you will know when it was last in Aries, between 1996 and 1999. So imagine, back then, we were just having this real increase in internet use, right? We were all starting to go on chat rooms. We were all starting to be involved in, like, you know, the first websites, the first web games, the first videos being posted on the internet. I don't actually think there were videos on the internet yet, but anyway, doesn't matter. You understand what I mean. You know, Amazon, eBay, stuff like that was just being born. Google was just being born. So we were in a real, like, boom birth of the internet where it was readily available. People were using personal computers. Tech was growing exponentially. And we were in an era of newness, of growth, of things that were changing quicker than we could even imagine, of devices being swapped every single year, of things being, you know, this came out and then we have this new software and then this new software. And for better or for worse, that's where we were at. And so I think in this next time period, we are going to see some of that. But also, we have come in a full circle motion. Given the state of the world right now and the way that we are thinking about tech and the way that we have moved away from certain tech because of what's going on in the world, or the way that some CEOs or people in charge of tech have, you know, done things that are unforgivable, and now we are almost revolting against tech. People are going back to brick phones. So we've come sort of full circle. For better or for worse, there is an exponential rise in things that are related to the last half of Pisces and Aquarius with the tech worlds. There's also, like, you know, in the 90s, a very boom of individualistic fashion. You know, everybody was out, like, being themselves. Everybody was just learning how to express themselves and being a little bit different and, like, coming of age. Anyone who was, like, coming of age in 96 to 99, they were experimenting with their clothing. They were experimenting with their sexuality. They were experimenting with everything. Very much like, hey, I'm going to do this and it doesn't really matter what I look like, and it doesn't really matter whether you care what I look like because I don't care what you think I look like. Everybody was starting to do things like, I don't know, creating their own fashion. Everyone was like sewing patches onto their outfits and dyeing their hair weird colors, right? Like, this is where we're at. So we're entering an age in which we are being the individual. And the same can be said for the 60s, because this was bang at the end of the 60s as well. So we had gone through that baby boomer era, like we were all flowers and colors and everyone was wearing cool shirts. And there was a whole new movement of, like, individuality, body autonomy, and really, like, standing up for yourself and what you believe in. So as you can see from the last couple of years, we've been moving into that realm. If you look at the news, if you are somebody who actually watches the news and understands what's going on, you will know what I'm talking about. the rise in protests, the rise in activism, and all of this type of thing. Like, I would expect to see that much more in the next coming years. And also, I would expect to see people bring into the table things that just they really care about. And that could be you. Maybe you're watching this, and as a Saturn in Aries baby, maybe you're a bit of an activist. Maybe you're a bit of an individualist. Or maybe you are somebody who, I don't know, just loves to shake stuff up a little bit. But that's the area that we're going to sort of move into, I think. So what we'll do now is let's just discuss, like, how can we work with Saturn and Aries, because I think it's really important for us to, even if we're not in the Saturn return, doesn't matter, it's all good. How can we work as a collective and as individuals in Saturn and Aries? So first of all, we don't know what is exactly going to happen in Saturn and Aries, all right? We don't know. But what we do know is that there is definitely going to be a new beginning here. And since Saturn represents structure, there is definitely going to be a new beginning, probably in a more societal structure than what we have now. So the first thing I would like you to do is to trust your instincts. I think it's very important that you are able to discern whether somebody is telling you the truth or whether somebody is telling you a lie. There will be things that come up with people of authority or leaders, or just generally people who may say things and you may have to question it twice. Question it twice, all right? Because there will be some confusing things that come up, and some leaders who are put on a pedestal for rushing in, put on a pedestal for being the face of change, and put on a pedestal for saying things that no one else wants to say. Be careful. Some of them are not the prophets that you may assume that they are. Some of them are not sending you the message that you think they are. And it's important for us to trust our instincts in this process and really discern what is important and what is truth and what is a lie. Do your research. Keep working on not taking things at face value. Keep working on not allowing other people's ideology to sort of seep in when you know in your heart of hearts that it doesn't make you feel comfortable. Just discern. Trust what you think. Trust your gut. It's important that we listen to that in this moment. Also, another thing that you can do during Saturn and Aries is really, like, sit down and work out, what do you stand for? Who are you? What do you care about in this world? Like, what makes your heart feel passionate? What makes you want to get up in the morning? What makes you want to fight for something? Because, as I said earlier, there will probably be some fights that need to take place. And that's cool, that's fine. But what do you care about? Like, do you care about any type of activism? Like, are you a big activist for something? Climate, wars, poverty, austerity, you know, what are you an activist for? And work towards what you are going to do to make a change. Because although Aries is super independent and super self-driven, like, it doesn't matter, because as many people who are self-driven working for the same cause, things are going to get done. So clarify, like, who are you? What do you care about? Maybe write it down, maybe make a note of it, maybe just every day recite what it is that you care about, so you don't get caught up in this other worldly thing of anger and selfishness. But also you do things for the passion of them, and you know that you can make a change in time whilst keeping hold of that for yourself. Another thing that I would really like you to do is to protect yourself. I would like you to take regular self-care days as much as possible. Self-care weeks, why not? Book a holiday, like, not right now, but, you know, throughout the next 3 years, just make sure you have a bit of downtime. Because Saturn in Aries is going to test us. It's going to test our stamina. It's going to test our ability to, I was going to say keep going, but that is literally stamina. It's going to test our resilience. It's going to test our way of thinking. And it is really just going to test our ability to wake up every single day and fight the battles we need to fight. So protect yourself. If you are being drained by anything, by workload, by people, by things in your life, by doom scrolling on your phone, recognize it. Think about it. On the days when you are your most frustrated and you're most angry, what is the common denominator? Is it a person? Is it a phone? Is it a cause? Is it a work colleague? What is it? Because getting down to the nitty-gritty of the situation of like, okay, this is what bothers me on the day-to-day, and these are what is happening on the days where I feel my worst, and working on that. Because the burnout is going to be probable. I mean, all of us at some point during this transit are going to have a burnout, no matter, you know, what it is or where it is, or, you know. But we won't have as bad a burnout if we take care of ourselves. So that is a piece of advice that I would really like to give you. If you see me keep looking out the window, it's because there are tons of magpies out there. And like, I don't know if anyone else lives in the UK, but in the UK, we have like a little rhyme about magpies. And there's 4 magpies out there at the moment, 4 for a boy. So I don't know, maybe it's the masculine energy of Aries that's flying around. But yeah, it's all going on out there. They're having a little fight. But anyway, so now let's talk about Saturn returns in general. So even if you're not a Saturn in Aries baby, it's cool. Let's talk about Saturn returns and what that means for you and why that is important. And then Saturn in Aries babies, stick with me. We'll talk about you in a second. So Saturn returns, what are they? Why do we care? So Saturn returns happen every 27 to 30 years, usually. And the transit lasts about 3 years. So we will all enter it at 27 to 30 years old, maybe 26, maybe 31, kind of somewhere around there. And also in our late 50s / early 60s. So during this time period, we start to think about what is next and review what has been. So if you're in your first Saturn return, this is usually the one that gives you like the biggest shock. It's usually the one that gives you quite a wake-up call, the one that turns to you and is like, okay, this is going to change, this is going to change, this is going to be different. When you are doing your second one, you kind of already understand the themes. Maybe you've already done it before. Like, for example, I'll give an example. Somebody that I am aware of had a Saturn return, a first Saturn return in the 4th house, and obviously the second one in the 4th house. And both times there was something that came up around moving house, around changing the family situation. So once you've done it the first time, you know, you kind of get it the second time. And the second time is more like if you didn't learn the lessons from the first, perhaps they repeat themselves in the same way. And if you did, they repeat themselves in a different way. Nothing is ever exactly the same. It's very unusual that the exact same thing would happen to you. But they run along the same themes. So your first one at 27 to 30 is the marker of the first changes. So you might be living on your own for the first time. Maybe you are starting to think about like investing or setting stuff aside for your savings when you're older, or you're starting your own family, or you're moving out, or, you know, you're doing the things that make you feel like, oh God, I am an adult now. Like, this is real. Like, I have to take care of myself. And if not, take care of like other little people who are now mine, right? So some of you might be getting married. Some of you might just be hitting those bigger milestones in your life. Or you might be having an extreme change in career, or, you know, something that isn't what you've been doing for this entire time. Something that makes you feel like you are wiser, older, for better or for worse, it doesn't matter. That's what it's going to feel like. And Saturn is the person who makes us take accountability for our actions too. So anything up until this point that has been happening that maybe you haven't taken accountability for, or you have struggled to come to terms with, or you have struggled to deal with, Saturn is most likely during this period going to be like, sort it out. Which is daunting. It is very daunting, but it's great. It will teach you a lot of things about how to move on to the next stage of life. After your Saturn return, you will feel much more like a grown-up. Everything will feel, more real. And if you are in your second Saturn return, you're likely to start thinking about, okay, where am I going to be? Do I want to sell my house? Do I want to downsize? Have my children moved out? Have I gotten married again? Have I done enough for my retirement? Like, these are the sorts of thoughts that come up during the second one. And if you are lucky enough to have a third, I'm sure that the thoughts will be all about, if you want grandchildren, how to spend time with your grandchildren, how to downsize again, or what you're going to do in your next chapter. So it's quite big stuff, and that's why I think it gets mentioned a lot. I also just want to say something about the responsibility aspect of Saturn. I think a lot of us, taking responsibility for things is really hard, okay? Because either human beings apologize for themselves all the time and then feel a victim, or human beings never apologize and don't allow themselves the grace to learn a lesson from that. I think that Saturn hits in between, and it will teach you the ways in which you can apologize and, move on and be more grown up and be a more responsible person. And also it will teach you the ways in which you can set your boundaries and say, like, I am not always a victim. And you can also say, like, you know what? I carry things that I shouldn't be carrying anymore, and I need to let them go for the greater good of myself and my mental health and other people in my life. It will teach you a lot about accountability. And I think that you have to remember during this Saturn transit that you need to be brave, because this is going to take bravery for you to sit there and say, you know what, I did wrong. I made mistakes. I acted in a way that really wasn't my intention. That wasn't something that I feel proud of. And Saturn is going to teach you the lessons from that, and maybe some consequences. Sometimes there's consequences during a Saturn return, right? I mean, most of the time there are. I can't tell you what they are going to be because I don't know your chart, and you have to look at your individual. But whatever it is up until now that you haven't been taking responsibility for, now's the time to do so. I want to say something that is, I wouldn't say it was controversial, to be honest. I like Saturn, and I used to detest Saturn, and some days I still kind of do. But I think that the lessons that I have learned from Saturn are more important than any lessons that I have learned from any other planet in my chart. I had a great time when Jupiter was in Pisces in my first house. Fantastic. It was lovely. Everything was great and joyful, and I was very confident and blah, blah, blah. But it's 1 year and it's short-lived. And it's something that can come and go. It's something that, Jupiter shows up and sheds the light on this wonderful thing and everything's great. And then it goes away and it goes somewhere else and does something else. And you're left without that then. And Saturn doesn't really do that. It leaves a lasting impression on you that you take into the next transit. So I do want to say that despite everything, I respect Saturn and I like Saturn, and I am grateful for the lessons that Saturn has taught me. And I want you to remember that. When your Saturn return comes up, I want you to remember what you are grateful for that Saturn has taught you. Because it might not feel great in the moment, but it will feel great in the end. And that, I can tell you, is a fact. So how can you survive your Saturn return whenever that comes? First of all, we talked about it before, but be accountable, okay? Take accountability for what it is you do and be accountable to those around you. If you have something that you really want to show up for yourself for, if you really have a goal in mind that you want to do, like, let's put action in every day. Just a little bit. Let's be honest with other people. Let's tell them, like, hey, can you hold me accountable for this thing that I really want to do? hey, can you remind me, you know, like if you're somebody who needs a bit of motivation, somebody who knows that this is going to be a rough road and needs somebody to stand by you and give you sort of like a let's go. Be accountable to your friends, be accountable to your family members if you want, or a professional, and just say like, hey, I'm going to speak to you every time I do this thing. Not for you to reply, not for you to do anything, just for me to know that I told someone that I did this thing and I'm proud of it, or that I did this thing and I'm not proud of it, and that's why I'm messaging you and I don't want to do it again. Or I will let you know every time I clean the house. You know, these little things of like, I am showing up for myself every single day without fail, and I am being honest about what I have and haven't done. And the same then goes on for taking responsibility. We all make mistakes. Every single one of us makes mistakes. We all do things that maybe we're not proud of. But the only way to take the power out of the mistakes and out of the shame that maybe we feel from making mistakes is to be honest about those mistakes and to take accountability for that. Again, we're around the lessons of responsibility and accountability. I'm telling you this, and I'm going to tell you it again, and we're going to talk about it for 3 years. Be honest. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes together. And we just try and find a way to solve those mistakes and not do it again. Another thing that I would like you to do to help you through your Saturn return, whenever this comes, is to take care of yourself. To truly spend the next 3 years, or the 3 years whenever it comes, looking after yourself and looking after the things that you hold dear. I need you to take self-care very seriously, and I need you to take it as a necessity, not a luxury. Because throughout your Saturn return, there may be a feeling of not really knowing who you are, not really knowing exactly where you're going next, feeling nervous if you're not somebody who enjoys change. And the idea of self-care doesn't have to just mean taking a bath. The idea of self-care is getting up every single day, doing what you do, putting the work in, speaking to people that you love, speaking to people that care about you, and making sure that you have people and things in place that make you feel good for the days when everything seems to be really quite tough. I need you to take that quite seriously. I also really, really need you to, I mean like we all together need to do put in the prep work. So if you know that there are things that are coming up over the next 3 years that you are not prepared for, let's work on it now. For example, are you starting a new course, or do you want to buy a house? Like, if you would like to buy a house, you need to do the work now. Otherwise, when the time to buy a house comes, you won't have the money. You won't know what you're doing, and you won't be able to buy the house. Even though it was in your 5-year plan, you can't buy the house. So the work needs to be done now. Like, how am I buying the house? Like, what do I need to do today? And you say, oh, but I don't have the money today. Yeah, okay. So where are we starting? What are we doing with that? Or if you are, having a baby, like, don't leave it to the last minute to buy a cot or crib. If you're American, I think you say crib. I don't know. Like, let's think about it now, right? What do we need? Do we need a new car because, like, our car is too small now because we're having another baby? Like, these things. Yeah. So that sort of thing. And really, just to be honest, the main thing that I want to tell you is to commit to yourself. Commit to yourself. Like, these next 3 years are about you. This is all about you. I'm sorry, it is. That's the truth of it. It sounds selfish. It sounds bad, but whatever. Like, this is about you. Commit to yourself. What do you want to do? Who are you? Because you're going to get to know who you are in the next 3 years. So who are you? Like, what do you want to show up as? Who do you want to show up as after 3 years? That really is the question for you. Who do you want to be? That kind of is the thing. That's it. And if you are one of my Saturn in Aries babies, welcome to your Saturn return. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to start with, it is going to be okay. You are going to be okay. If you have seen many a video online about how terrible somebody's Saturn return is and how, you know, their life was flipped upside down, yes, fine. Some of them, I'm sure, are very true. But what I can tell you is you are going to be okay. You are going to be fine. Everything, we will all go through a Saturn return and everything will be okay. What you have to realize is this is a period of time that you can take and mold into something really, really beautiful. It's a period of time which will make you feel like you. It's a period of time where you will get to know who exactly you are and what you want out of life. It's a time where you are going to feel like you have achieved something. You are going to feel like you have learned so many lessons and you are going to feel at the end wonderful. And I understand that some of you probably right now are sitting here and being like, my life is already a mess. Like, how am I going to get through this? I don't know. Everything is difficult. How can it get much worse? That is a good way to feel right now because it means that you want a change. And the Saturn return is definitely going to bring you a change. And I want you to go into your Saturn return and I want you to know that there are people before you who have already done it. And if you know any of them, please ask their advice. And if you want to ask anyone's advice in the comments, if they've already done it, we would love that. If you want to ask our advice, you know, there are so many things to look forward to. And this is just the beginning. I want you to come back here in 3 years and I want you to tell me all the wonderful things that happened to you in your Saturn return and all the difficult things. I want you to come and tell me every single lesson that you learned. I want you to come and tell me all the achievements that you made. Because although it might not feel like it right now, and although you might be nervous, I've seen a lot of people recently, I've met a lot of people who are saying that they're really nervous and that they're really scared and that, you know, they don't want their life to change or they don't want their life to get worse and things like that. I don't want you to go in with that attitude. I don't, because I just want you to know that there are many, many people who have done this before you and they all made it out the other side. We are all gonna be okay. Everything is good. There are a couple of things that I would like you to know specific for Saturn in Aries though. The first thing I want you to know is that if you have a temper, which some of you will be saying, I'm never angry, I just cry. That's fine. I'm a Mars in Cancer, that I understand. But some of you, all of us, will have a temper in Saturn in Aries, all right? All of us will have a temper. And when yours comes up, it might feel worse than normal. If you're somebody who doesn't get angry easily, it might feel worse than normal, but it will come. And those of you who already have a temper, you know, like everybody, we all need to take a breath. Use your temper as fuel for the good things that you want to do. If you find your temper bubbling up under the surface and about to come out when you are having a conversation that is very, very important, or you're doing something that is extremely important and is getting you angry, take a step away. Take a step away. We don't want anything to happen in the Saturn return that is something that you feel you regret later on. Like, things will happen to you, or it will feel like they're happening to you, but there are ways that you can go about certain things. For example, keeping that temper in. Another thing that I want you to do during this period of time is commit to yourself. I want you to fully commit to yourself. If you are in relationships, that's cool, that's fine. If you have an amazing friendship group that you like to do everything with, that's great, that's fine. I'm not sitting here and saying that in 3 years' time you're going to be alone. That's not what I'm saying at all, because there's a lot of partnerships who are both the same age and they will both go through the same Saturn return, if not one and then the other. But commit to you and the relationship will follow. If you are alone right now, if you are single and you're looking for somebody else to be with, right now during your Saturn return, don't bother. Don't do it. Commit to yourself, completely to yourself. For the next 3 years, commit to yourself. Because interestingly enough, if you do that, it is more likely that someone's going to come in who likes you on the basis of you committing to yourself, which is very freeing and very wonderful. And if you are currently in a relationship, don't let people on the internet scare you. It's okay. You and your partner, your husband, your wife, your whoever, you two, there is no thing in this world that says that you two are going to break up and you are going to be alone at the end of it. I want to make that very clear. Now, some of you, maybe. Because some of you are sitting here right now and you know that the relationship that you're in is not the best one for you to be in. And you know that there are things in that relationship that you would like to change. Some of you already know that. I know the people are listening and they know, okay? But some of you might be thinking, oh my God, but I'm in such a lovely relationship. I really don't want anything to happen. It's okay, it won't. Like, if it's meant for you and there's something very beautiful and sacred, you two will get through the Saturn return together, and it will make you feel like you both accomplished something at the same time, and it will teach you, again, about how to be a good partner to them, or how they can be a good partner to you, because you will go for a period that's like, wow, we have new responsibilities and new things that we need to get through, and, you know, it's tough, but we can do it together. So, you know, I just want you to commit to yourself without fear that you're going to lose anything in return by committing to yourself. Another thing to do is to set boundaries. I want you all to set boundaries. This goes along with committing to yourself. Set those boundaries. If people want you to do things and you don't want to do them, don't do them. There are more days in the calendar year. Like, if you feel like your energy is draining, if you are like as little as if you have your period and you don't want to go out and you just want to lie on the sofa and have a sleep, lie on the sofa and have a sleep. All right. Or if you are just tired, or you've been sick, or you just can't be bothered. Like, honestly, if you just can't be bothered, don't do it. All right. You will not lose friends. And if you do, that is another story that needs to be told. Or you will not lose a relationship. And if you do, that's not okay, right? Like, that's not what we should be doing. You will not lose those meaningful people over not going out or not doing this thing, or telling them, I don't like it when you do that. Please don't do it. It makes me uncomfortable. That is very important, because you are going to be burnt out. And if work is burning you out and you find that you can't cope with it and you can't keep up with it, it's important to take a look at that and set your boundaries within the workplace as well. So I want you to remember to, like, take care of yourself like you've never taken care of yourself before. Ever, ever, ever. And I want you to also practice endurance and patience. Aries is not a very patient being. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. It's not patient. But you have to practice the idea of things taking time and things being better in the long run once they have taken some time. So just make a 10-year plan rather than next week a plan. You know, what do you want to do in 10, 15 years? And work from that. Because setting a plan of less than that is going to feel like a failure. It's not going to feel like an achievement, because perhaps you'll get a year in and you'll be like, I haven't done the thing I wanted to do. That's not Saturn in Aries. Like, I mean, that is Saturn in Aries, that feeling. But Saturn in Aries is going to have to teach you that, like, it's okay to make a plan for a really long time. We need to practice that level of endurance. This is a long transit, and it will set us up for great things in life. And it will hit us all differently, but it is a very long transit. So you need to be sort of prepared for the knowledge that things take time, right? I would like to also say to you to enjoy it. And I know that that sounds weird, but some of you, I don't know where this is in your chart, I can't say, but some of you might go on trips of a lifetime. Some of you might buy your dream home. Some of you might marry the most wonderful partner you've ever met in your life. These things will probably come towards the end of the transit, but I want you to enjoy it. And I want you to recognize that these things that come towards the end of the transit are blessings that you have earned. You may give birth to the most beautiful baby. You might get the most wonderful pet, or you might open a pet sanctuary. Who knows? But you might do some things that feel life-changing. And I want you to enjoy that, and I want you to know that you earned it, and I want you to know that you achieved it. And if you feel like that's not going to happen for you, I need you to hold on to the hope of that right now. I need you to hang on to that, and I need you to come back here in 3 years, and I need you to tell me that thing happened to me. Because I think that when you're in the beginning of your Saturn return, it can feel quite hopeless, and it can feel like, I'm not going to be the lucky one. I'm not going to be the one who gets there in the end. I'm not going to be the one who is able to do that. You are. You are. I want you to enjoy every single blessing that comes to you during this time period. You're also kind of lucky because we have Jupiter in Cancer doing its thing. So like, you're kind of lucky with that. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I want you to, especially for the next year, just hang on to the hope that like, I am going to be one of those people that in the end of my Saturn return, I receive the most wonderful blessing. And I mean, everybody that I know has received a blessing at the end of their Saturn return. Some of you Pisces might be thinking, I haven't received my blessing yet, and it's the end of my Saturn return. It's not the end of your Saturn return, because the end of your Saturn return is February 2026, when it retrogrades back into your sign and then goes back into Aries. So don't come at me for that Pisces, Saturn and Pisces, all right? But yes, there will be blessings, there will be tears, there will be sweat, but there will be joy at the end of a Saturn return. I will tell you that now, and I vouch for that, and I stand by it. And at least if there is not a life-changing feeling of joy, there is a life-changing feeling of calm. And there is a life-changing feeling of knowing you are exactly where you're meant to be. And that you are in an exact moment that you were always supposed to be at. So any of you Saturn and Aries babies who are venturing on your Saturn return, I would love to stay with you during your journey. I would love to hear how everything is going. And I would love to talk to you more about this. So if you enjoyed this video, the first one with my face in it, hello, welcome. Please do subscribe to our channel, or just give this video a little thumbs up, or leave a comment if you want. Anything that makes you feel, even anything that you feel like doing, really, if you feel very generous. But I will see you next time. I will see you for more readings. I will see you for more astrology chats. If you want to know anything about astrology and you would like us to do a video on it, please put in the comments and be like, hey, tell me about this thing. And I'll be like, okay, fine, we'll tell you about this thing. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope that you have the most beautiful day. I also hope that you, my beautiful Saturn and Aries babies, have a glorious Saturn return and just learn all the lessons and learn all the things there is to learn about gratitude and joy and being a little tough cookie that you are. So yeah, with that, I'll see you later.